things, but from the planning team standpoint, definitely clear that we need to bring you back, a kind of internal plan, but would like a little bit more time to do that so that the professional planner can assist in putting that together. Okay, and then in terms of other things, the planning team works obviously with MCOG, with the municipal advisory councils in Laytonville, Wallala, and now Westport, and continues to interact with other agencies. In particular, I would say that the Air Quality Management District and the Water Agency have been good partners in the work that we've been doing. The other thing is kind of monitoring, reviewing, and dealing with the climate change policy directives that are coming from the state. And that includes, reviewing draft state policy directions and guidelines, and to look at if there are requirements that come out, make sure that our planning documents reflect those requirements, and then look at any strategies that could end up benefiting the county, both from a air quality standpoint as well as if there are any financial benefits to the county. And, I would say from that standpoint that we've got, again, expertise in the planning team around climate change and greenhouse gases. And in Patrick Ford, he's put together a PowerPoint that he presented to the rest of the planning team around conferences that he's been to and what he knows of what's happening at the state level. And I wanted to offer to you that at one of your meetings, he would be willing to kind of spruce up that PowerPoint and provide it to you. We also thought that it might be useful for the Planning Commission and even department heads, because this is something that is going to be affecting a lot of parties, and the more we know about it, the more we'll be able to, address the requirements that come down. So that's the update on the planning team. And I guess the other thing I'd say is looking at affordable housing opportunities. That is something we are also continuing to pursue. There is a point at which, though, it's not appropriate for the planning team to follow through on that. But it needs, if it gets to more of a specific project, then it needs to be handed off. And at that point, I think the executive office would look at how we want to follow through on those things. So, any questions overall?
To the board, comments? Okay.
Here.
Supervisor Colfax.
With regard to the Anderson Valley document, by the way, I thought that the document you just turned out was very, very thorough, very comprehensive, and I think should be very useful. How does that feed back into the proceedings now? I just didn't get a sense of how the Planning Commission will be taking testimony and possibly acting on Thursday. At what point then do you and staff move into what comes out of that, and what kind of review would there be, either at the board level or not at the board level? What do you anticipate, in other words? What's the trajectory?
Well, I think we're kind of anticipating it can go in one of two ways. The input from the Anderson Valley in the form of this alternative plan was comprehensive enough that the feeling was it should not be dealt with simply at a staff level. It needed to go to the Planning Commission. So that was kind of the first decision that was made around this. The Planning Commission will, they've gotten the plan, they've gotten the review of it that was done by the planning team staff, and what I believe they're going to be doing on Thursday is kind of sifting through and looking at what they want to incorporate in the general plan update and what they don't, and where it might be incorporated. And so the decision as to whether or not that goes on to the board, so one pathway is if the Planning Commission gives enough direction that looks significantly different than the direction that they previously gave and that you as a board endorsed, we are going to feel like, hey, we need to bring that before the board so that you can endorse that shift in direction. If in reviewing all of it, it doesn't look like there's a major shift in direction, and they're able to incorporate the things to people's satisfaction, whatever, then the next time you'd see it is as part of the draft general plan update that would be released at the beginning of July. If it needs to come back to the board, you know, that might cause some slippage on the timeframes, which would be unfortunate. It's too early to tell, because some of the input, quite frankly, the Planning Commission already received in the past and addressed, but it was not presented as an actual alternative plan. And so now they will be looking at it in a slightly different format, and, you know, they may have a different reaction, or there may be a different way of incorporating it. And, you know, some of the issues that are in that local plan are in fact in the general plan, just not specific to Anderson Valley. And that's when you go, well, if they're in the plan overall, then that means that works for Anderson Valley as well as everyone else. So that should be sufficient, but we'll see how the discussion comes out. So it can go one of two ways. The intention is to bring it back to the board only if there's a sufficiently different direction than what has been received before, that we feel it needs direction from you before proceeding with the draft.